So I stay at that job, and while I'm there, there are a number of issues that make it not the ideal place. One of them being that there's a 20-mile commute each way. It's exhausting, it's unpredictable. And so that's kind of the sort of thing where I was like, I can't do this forever. I need something else. And alongside that, at some point of, early into my time there, they had hired a new department head who, before she even arrived, had a reputation for being kind of a horrible person. And it it did impact me somewhat from the beginning, because I was in meetings with her sometimes, in group meetings, and she could be very difficult, and there was always a lot of tension in the room when she was there. But at least I didn't have to work with her directly. I wasn't a direct report to her. There were people in between us to buffer her energy. But at some point, I had received a few promotions, and my boss was a direct report to her, and he began taking extended stress leaves. And the first two that he took, both of which started out as 3-month leaves of absence and were extended at his doctor's request to, I want to say, 6 months. I want to say it's possible that one of them was even longer. Well, when he would take these leaves of absence, I was left doing both my own job and his job while he was out. And I was not compensated for doing a second position for a limited period of time. I was not given a temporary assistant. I was just kind of on my own. And the third time, the head of the department told me, we're going to go ahead and promote you, and now you'll have the same position he has. And this is partly for legal reasons, because there is information that he has given access to that your position would not normally have access to, and we need you to be able to participate in that and work with that information. And partly to be fair to you, finally, after all this time, to compensate you appropriately for all the work that you're doing, which technically I still was not, because I was still doing 2 jobs. I didn't have an assistant. I was working as the sole person in this position while he was on leave. And so we did that. And when he returned, I had now learned the full scope of what was involved in his job as well. And I was very aware now at the distribution of the workload and how much I had been carrying. And so when he came back, we sat down to talk about, catch up on what had happened while he was gone and talk about how we would proceed. He said that he thought that things would go back to the way they were before, that I would do the same work that I had been doing, that he would do the same work that he had been doing, and that the dynamic would sort of return to this, like him in the lead position and me as his assistant. And I was just over that. I had already done too much. I just knew too much now, and didn't agree to that. And he was upset by that and ultimately resigned, and I think probably felt that he had been pushed out. So now I am the sole person in this position, and I hire an assistant, and we just go about work. And now that I'm in this position, I am working directly under the head of the department. And for the first maybe year or so, she is pretty decent to work with. No major scandals between us. But she quickly begins to just kind of go back to her normal self. As things progressed and she continued to behave like herself, I went to the person above her boss. I went to human resources. No one ever cared. I was not getting any support or help with that. So now this is just another thing, another reason that I don't want to be there anymore. And I do occasionally look for other jobs and interview for other jobs, but there's nothing that I'm finding that seems like a good fit for me, or that I'll be able to make even similar income doing, because I've now worked there for so long and I've had so many promotions that I'm making quite a bit more than entry-level jobs pay. And so that is really challenging. And what finally happened is that it was the holiday season, and during the week between Christmas and New Year's, most of the non-essential employees didn't work. And in my department, all of the non-essential employees would come in one day that they weren't necessarily required to work, and they would help out so that the other people in the department didn't feel completely abandoned by them. So during this period, I have to take my dog and I do this on my day off, and I find out that she has a very serious issue with her heart, and as the doctor says, she could die at any time, like literally any minute, which is devastating news, obviously. And he wants to schedule her for an ultrasound the next day. And the day after that is the day that I'm supposed to come in and work during the holiday time. And I go home. I am clearly just falling apart, crying nonstop. And I call the office and I let them know, look, I've just gotten back from the vet. I have really terrible news and I have to go back tomorrow. And I don't know if it's going to be worse. Like, it is possible that it's going to be worse. And the vet, by the way, also told me there's nothing we can do. We can't do surgery. There's no treatment. You're just waiting. I call the office and I let them know, look, I've just gotten back from the vet and I have to take my dog back tomorrow, and I've already had really bad news and it might get worse, and I don't know if I can come in the next day to work. Like, you don't want me there. They don't like this, and it's a big, huge deal. Nobody cares that my dog is sick. Doesn't matter. This is also, by the way, I don't work in a hospital. I don't work any place where anyone's going to die. It's just a regular job. So after the holidays, my boss just really decides that she hates me. She's done with me. She tells me that I have to meet with her every day, twice a day. This is closed door, private in her office meetings, which are frequently where opportunities for her to trash other people that I know, lie about other people that I know, and probably she does the same to me when she's in meetings with other people. But I'm just saying, it's a very uncomfortable meeting to have to attend, and to have to do that twice a day, every single day of the week, is torture. And also, I just know that what she's doing here is trying to find a way to fire me. What she wants in these meetings is that in the morning, she wants me to come in and tell her every single thing that I plan to do that day. And in the afternoon, she wants me to come in and tell her everything that I actually did. Like, I literally have to write down all day long that I sent an email to someone, what it was about, and so on. If I took a phone call, if I made a phone call, if I visited another department to do something, I have to write all of this down so that I can then tell her every second of my life, basically, which is absurd. And I know that she's trying to fire me, and this isn't really a new thing for her, because if I ever took a vacation, which I very rarely did, I would come back from vacation and I would meet with my assistant, and the first thing he would tell me is that every meeting he had with her, she was grilling him about me, trying to find something wrong. And he's like, I swear she's trying to fire you. She's trying to find a reason. And then I would go into a meeting with her to catch up with her on what had happened while I was away. And she would tell me, your assistant is useless. You need to fire him immediately. She was just awful. Like, she didn't like anyone. So I know she's trying to fire me. I'm very stressed out and very upset because I'm still dealing with the fact that I have a dog who might drop dead at any moment. And now my boss is harassing me and trying to fire me from the job I've been at for 14 years. I have nothing lined up. All of the things I've tried to do in this time to change jobs have not worked out. I haven't found anything reasonable. And I'm totally having a breakdown. And one night I am literally having a breakdown in my kitchen at home. And I know that if I call a friend right then, that they're going to say that I'm right and that she's a horrible person and I've not done anything wrong and I certainly don't deserve this. But at that point I was like, it's not helping me. I don't know what to do with that. No one at work is helping me with this. The closest I got when she had really zeroed in on me is that one of my colleagues took me aside and said, I can see what's happening and I'm really sorry. I've been in this position before. The only thing I can say is hang in there and she'll get tired of you and she'll move on to someone else, which is maybe the worst thing I've ever heard someone say, that like this bully is horrible and she's definitely targeting you, but eventually she'll find a new target and we can not care about it anymore, which that's not really acceptable to me either. So that's the extent of support I'm getting at work with this. And I call a public mental health hotline. And I explain what's happening and I tell them I really don't know what to do anymore. I have tried, I've spoken to human resources, I've spoken to 2 people above her, and I'm just, kind of at the end of my rope with this. And she gave me some guidance with that was really, really helpful, and some vocabulary to use, because she said, I really want you to specifically make sure that when you make this report, that you use the term bullying, because she is bullying you and that's what they need to hear. So I took that back. I started documenting everything, and just kind of waiting to see what was next. And I made this report that she had told me to make, and I didn't really know what my plan was. And then I just kind of realized that, especially if my dog was going to die any second, and I'm spending her last days in this horrible, stressed out, miserable state, that this was a pretty terrible life to live. So I looked at the tiny 401k that I had started when I got this last promotion, and I looked at how much unpaid vacation time I had saved up, tons, and I had about 3 months worth of salary between the two, and I decided to just take it and leave.